Let's bring in Michel Del Buono. He's a senior economist and consultant at the UNDP-Afghanistan, and he will also be attending the Doha meeting on Afghanistan. Great to have you on the programme. Welcome to you. The UN Special Envoy on Afghanistan has warned that the frozen international Afghan assets and donor funds could spark a severe economic downturn. How can this be avoided? How do you continue to get those funds that people desperately need?
Well, it is difficult to avoid. In fact, the problem is a short-term financial strangulation that is actually happening at the moment. I mean, can you imagine a situation where you have COVID, you have a huge drought, and you have no money to pay either healthcare workers or essential elements like the police? The fiscal situation in Afghanistan is so dire, but not only the fiscal situation. I mean, what the senior people of the UN were saying today is that within a year or two, as many as 97% of Afghans could be in dire poverty. What that means essentially, for instance, is that basic foods and for welfare are imported. Mm-hmm. Without access to foreign exchange, that food would not be imported. Similarly, intermediate inputs and spare parts for industries, for working also will not be imported. Normally, Afghanistan imports about 8 times more than it exports. And therefore, it requires financial assistance to balance its international transactions. Okay. That is not happening.
Michel, sorry to interrupt. You know, I really want to move you on here. You know, you outlined a very grim prediction there. So, you know, how do you break that? What kind of aid do you get to the Afghan people right now to avoid that scenario?
Well, actually, we need to give a lot of assistance simply to offset the harm we're doing by blocking funds to Afghanistan. You know, I mean, the highest possible humanitarian effort must be undertaken just to prevent them from suffering the harm that we're inflicting by blocking their access to funds. I don't say we should grant total and unrestricted access to funds, but definitely, financial strictures do not help. Mm-hmm. In fact, the situation is just a worsening of what it has been recently, because after a relatively good harvest, poverty was about 50% in Afghanistan. Then with a drought and with COVID, it rose to 72%. So that going to almost the entire population is just a small step away. We must do the utmost in terms of humanitarian assistance to prevent that from happening. Can it be done on the volume required, and will the financial resources needed for such an effort become available? Only the politicians can say that, okay. And especially Western leaders.
And you are attending the Doha meeting on Afghanistan. What do you expect to come out of it in a tangible form that can bring that help that we've been talking about right now?
We have to calibrate the intervention to the situation in the country. I think the UN is looking towards a more regional approach, a more localized approach, to work directly with the grassroots or the communities. And that has some promise, I believe, although the central institutions should also be in some ways protected. You need a good police force. It needs to get paid in order to be effective. And I think that an effort to calibrate things at the more local level as opposed to national can be helpful.
Michel Del Buono, thank you so much for speaking to us today on TRT World. We appreciate it.